Hey guys, it's MMA Vulture coming at you live with UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Albazi, weigh-in recap, as well as my final predictions for this week's bouts. And we're going to go ahead and jump right into it with the first bout of the night being Jamey-Lyn Horth versus Ivana Petrovic. And I am going with Ivana Petrovic. These two aren't really the highest caliber fighters. They're both 1-1 in the UFC, but I'm going with Ivana Petrovic. I think that she is a good striker with quick combinations. I think that she's going to be able to piece up Jamey-Lyn Horth and maintain distance, kind of keep Jamey-Lyn Horth at bay, find those outside shots, use those snappy kicks of hers to keep Jamey-Lyn at distance. But also, she has to watch out for Jamey-Lyn Horth getting those takedowns off those kicks, because I do feel like Jamey-Lyn Horth is going to have the grappling advantage. I think she's the better grappler. I also think that she might have the strength advantage as well here. But I think in terms of striking, I think Ivana Petrovic is going to have the striking advantage. I think that in terms of grappling, I think that they're fairly close. I think Jamey-Lyn Horth has a slight edge over her in the grappling department, but nothing incredibly far in terms of skill-wise in the grappling department between these two. I think also something to note is that Ivana also has the reach and very slight height advantage here, so that's why I'm going with Ivana Petrovic. I think that she's going to maintain that distance, pepper Jamey-Lyn Horth from the outside with her striking and mix in those kicks as well, and keep Jamey-Lyn Horth at bay. I am going with Ivana Petrovic to beat Jamey-Lyn Horth. I think that she's going to use that striking of hers to keep Jamey-Lyn Horth at distance, and if it comes in close, I think we could see Ivana Petrovic use her jiu-jitsu that she has to take down Jamey-Lyn Horth, maintain her on the ground, and advance positions as well on Jamey-Lyn Horth. We could see some moments from Ivana Petrovic on the in the grappling department for sure. That's why I'm going with Ivana Petrovic to beat Jamey-Lyn Horth. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here. As you guys can see, we have Ivana Petrovic here first. She looks jacked. She looks healthy. She looks ready to go to war against Jamey-Lyn Horth, who I think is in for a real surprise this Saturday. And let's look at Jamey-Lyn Horth. As you guys can see here, she looks jacked as well. She looks fit. She's got some nice tattoos. This is going to be an absolute war between these two. And let's go ahead and look at the odds here, in which Jamey-Lyn Horth is sitting at a -230 and Ivana Petrovic is sitting at a +195. I really like the dog in this one in Ivana Petrovic. They both look good on the scales. They both made weight. They both looked healthy. I got to go with Ivana Petrovic. I think that she's going to be able to maintain distance against Jamey-Lyn Horth, use that reach advantage to pepper her from the outside, use those snappy kicks, keep Jamey-Lyn Horth at bay, and if it comes to the grappling department, I think she's going to be able to snub a lot of Jamey-Lyn Horth's takedowns because she telegraphs them and be able to fare well in that department. And then we have also the over 1.5 for this fight sitting at a -750, over 2.5 sitting at a -475. I definitely see this fight going the distance. I think Ivana Petrovic wins via decision. And that is my official call for this one. Ivana Petrovic for the W over Jamey-Lyn Horth. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout, in which we have Chad Anheliger versus Cody Gibson. And I am going with Cody Gibson. I think that he's going to beat Chad Anheliger here. I think that Cody Gibson is a tough, durable fighter. I mean, he was a finalist on the Ultimate Fighter where he lost to Brad Katona, but Brad Katona is an amazing fighter with high fight IQ. I think these two are both mediocre fighters, kind of journeymen. I think that Cody Gibson is going to be able to get the W over Chad Anheliger in a brawl between these two. I think it's going to be a very, very close fight in which we're going to see a lot of grappling, a lot of striking on the feet. I think Cody Gibson is going to be the better striker. He has a huge reach advantage as well as a height advantage. I think Cody Gibson is going to be able to do the same thing in the sense that he's going to keep Chad Anheliger at bay, kind of use that reach advantage of him, strike him from the outside, use those snappy kicks of his, use that stiff jab of his. He likes to strike from the outside. So this is kind of playing into his ball game. So Chad Anheliger is going to have to kind of make this a brawl for it to be his game, because he needs to be able to get in close. I don't feel like he's going to be able to get in close against Cody Gibson. I think Cody Gibson is too well at maintaining distance and striking from the outside. He easily beat Brian Keller in their last fight. I think he's going to beat Chad Anheliger. I think that in terms of grappling, I think that Cody Gibson is going to fare well in that. I think Chad has a slight grappling advantage, but I think that it's still going to be Cody Gibson on the feet and in the grappling department. Give me Cody Gibson to beat Chad Anheliger. And let's look at the weigh-in photos between these two, in which we have Cody Gibson first, looking jacked, looking healthy, looking lean. He made weight. And now we have Chad Anheliger, same thing, made weight, looks jacked, he looks lean, he looks good. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Chad Anheliger sitting at a plus 167 and Cody Gibson sitting at a negative 192. It was a lot closer whenever I brought it up a couple days ago. No, it was sitting right around the same. Negative 190, negative 175 whenever, yeah, negative 175. So not too bad. Negative 192 for Cody Gibson. I think it's going to be a very close battle between these two. I think it goes to decision. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 475. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 245. I like the overs in this. I think that it definitely goes to decision. This is one of my higher confident picks in the round side of things. I really do think that this goes to decision. Give me Cody Gibson to squeak a close decision over Chad Anheliger, 29-28. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we have Serhiy Sidey versus Garrett Armfield. And there's a lot of people picking Garrett Armfield, but I'm going with Serhiy Sidey. I think that his kickboxing style is going to be too much for Garrett Armfield, to be completely honest. I think that he's got great footwork. I think that he's a good striker with knockout power. I feel like he's going to be able to maintain distance against Garrett Armfield, outstrike him, outland him. I do worry about the inside, though, when Garrett Armfield gets in close, how the grappling is going to go. I do worry about that, but I'm going with Serhiy Sidey. I think he's going to be able to maintain that distance and beat Garrett Armfield. Like I said, I do worry about his takedown defense against Armfield, but I think that his length and reach is going to help him in this. He has a 2-inch reach advantage as well as a huge height advantage. I think that's going to help him with not letting Garrett Armfield take him to the ground, and also using his length to help him get up if he needs to. Use them to put on the hips of Garrett Armfield to create that space to get up. So I'm going with Serhiy Sidey. I think that his striking, his counter-striking abilities as well are very, very good. And I think he's going to be able to find the chin on Armfield. Give me Serhiy Sidey to beat Garrett Armfield. And let's look at the photos here, in which we have Garrett Armfield first. He looks jacked. He looks healthy. He looks lean too. He's smiling. He's ready to go to war against Serhiy Sidey. I definitely think that this is going to be one of the better fights on this card, for sure. And let's go ahead and look at Serhiy Sidey, which same thing. He looked jacked. He looked a little bit like the weight cut was affecting him a little bit, but still made weight. Still looked phenomenal. He looks healthy. He looks shredded. We're going to see how this war goes down between these two. And let's look at the odds. I know they're very, very close. Serhiy Sidey sitting at a negative 135. You have Garrett Armfield sitting at a plus 115. Very, very close odds-wise. I like Serhiy Sidey. I think that he's a good money line as well as a parlay addition. And then we have the overs in this fight. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 360. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 190. I like the over 1.5. I do caution the over 2.5 though. I think that towards the second and third round, we're going to see Serhiy take over. I think Garrett Armfield could have success early, but I think Serhiy is going to find his striking and be able to piece up Garrett Armfield. That length is going to help him tremendously. Give me Serhiy to beat Garrett Armfield in a pretty close-fought brawl. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout, in which we have a heavyweight bout against Alexandr Romanov and Rodrigo Nascimento. And I am going with Rodrigo Nascimento. I can't go with Alexandr Romanov. I get he's been cutting weight and everything, but dude, he's just too inconsistent. He's got cardio issues. So I got to go with Rodrigo Nascimento. I really do. I think that he's going to be the better striker. I think that his jiu-jitsu is also better. He's got the cleaner grappling, so if he does have any trouble on the feet, he could resort to that. I think that Rodrigo is also a little bit more technical on the feet than Romanov, so that's why I'm going with Rodrigo Nascimento. I see him piecing him up and finding that knockout shot on Alexandr Romanov. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-ins here, in which we have Nascimento first. He looks good. He looks a little bit jacked, you know, a little pudgy, a little lean. And then we have Alexandr Romanov, who looks definitely a lot more pudgy. He came in at like 266, I believe. So he's definitely a little bit more pudgier. But I think that Nascimento could get this done. I think that he's going to be the slicker fighter on the feet. I think he's also going to have the speed advantage, be the quicker fighter here. So we're going to see how it goes down. And let's look at the fight odds on this fight, in which Nascimento is sitting at a -115 and Alexandr Romanov sitting at a -105. So very, very close in terms of betting-wise right now. Basically a coin flip. I'm going with Nascimento over Romanov, over 1.5, sitting at a -175. I think that this could end early, but I also see this maybe even going the distance, to be completely honest, because both of them are good at grappling. In terms of striking, I think Nascimento is cleaner, but they're not the best striker on either side. So I could see over 1.5 definitely hitting. I could see them using a lot more grappling exchanges in this fight. Give me Nascimento to beat Alexandr Romanov. And let's go ahead and look at the next fight, in which is a banger between Jack Shore and Youssef Zalal, my lock of the week. And of course, I got Youssef Zalal. There's no changing my lock of the week. I got fucking Youssef Zalal. He is better in every aspect. He is the more well-rounded fighter here. He destroyed Billy Q and then went out and beat Jarno Aarons. He looked phenomenal in both of those fights. His striking looked clean, crisp. He was very quick, very explosive. He's also got the grappling to back up the striking. He's got very, very strong body locks. He's got sneaky submissions. I think that he's going to destroy Jack Shore. I think that we could see this fight end early, but also I could see this going the distance because Jack Shore is definitely no slouch, and he's definitely a tough, durable opponent. But, dude, Youssef Zalal has been looking phenomenal as of lately, has found his grounding as of lately, and has been looking great. So give me Youssef Zalal to beat Jack Shore. And let's look at the weigh-in photos between these two, in which you can see Youssef Zalal right here. He looks good. He looks healthy. He's throwing up the one. He's smiling. He's looking healthy and ready to go to war against Jack Shore. I think that he's going to destroy Jack Shore. I think that he's too slick on the feet. He moves it. He's got good head movement. He's got good footwork. I think that he's going to beat Jack Shore. And let's look at Jack Shore on the scales. He looks jacked. He looks healthy as well. This is going to be a great fight, but I think Youssef Zalal is going to dominantly beat Jack Shore. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Jack Shore sitting at a +266, Youssef Zalal sitting at a -316. I think that Youssef Zalal is going to destroy him. I think that this goes the distance. I think Youssef Zalal 30-27's Jack Shore. I think that he's better on the feet and in the grappling department. I think he's more dangerous of a submission artist than Jack Shore. So Give me Yusuf Zalal to beat Jack Shore. The over 1.5 sitting at a negative 525. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 350. I think Yusuf Zalal wins this on the cards, and I think it's going to be a dominant fashion, 30-27. So give me Yusuf Zalal to beat Jack Shore. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we have Charles Jourdain versus Victor Henry. And Victor Henry, like I said, is coming down from 145 to 135. And I think that was a very, very smart move. And I have to go with Charles Jourdain. I think that this is a great, great move for his career. And I think that he could destroy Victor Henry in this bout. I think that he's the more slick, more technical fighter against Victor Henry, who throws kind of looping shots at some points. And although he's never been finished, he's a good striker. I'm not going to say he's mediocre, because he's a good striker with knockout power, and he mixes up his shots to the head and body very well. But I think he lacks in the grappling department. I think that Charles Jourdain is going to have the grappling advantage. Not only that, I think he's going to be the more slick striker on the feet. I do realize Victor Henry has that knockout power, but I think Charles Jourdain is going to be too slick for him, be able to pick him apart, overwhelm him, find the nice shots on Victor Henry, piece him up, and get the victory over Victor Henry. I think it's going to be a very close battle between these two, but I think Charles Jourdain is going to be the slicker, more explosive fighter and find the shots against Victor Henry to get the close win. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Victor Henry. As you guys can see, it looks like a rock artist. He's got the long hair. He's throwing up the rock symbols. It looks like a rock artist. And let's look at Charles Jourdain. Looking healthy, looking jacked, smiling. I think Charles Jourdain is going to get the better of Victor Henry. And let's look at the odds on this fight, in which we have Charles Jourdain sitting at a negative 139. Victor Henry sitting at a plus 119. So pretty close in odds. I like Charles Jourdain. I think he's a good money line as well as a parlay addition. And we have the over 1.5 sitting at a negative 550. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 300. I like the over in this bout. I think that Charles Jourdain gets the better of Victor Henry. I think that we could see a finish from Charles Jourdain, so I'm going to stick away from the rounds on this one. Or even Victor Henry, he's got knockout power, so I'm going to stick away from this one. But I like Charles Jourdain, like I said. And let's move along to the next bout, in which we have Ariana Lipski versus Jasmine Davicius, and it's actually Ariana Da Silva, I believe, not Ariana Lipski. But we have Jasmine Davicius beating Ariana Da Silva either way. I have Jazz Davicius as being the more dominant fighter in the grappling department. I think that she's going to be able to take down Silva at will, be able to maintain control of her. I think that she brings a heavy, heavy submission threat. I think that she's going to be a good, quick striker. I do realize Silva is also a good striker on the feet that's very slick, so it's going to be fairly even on the feet, I believe. I think that in terms of grappling, I think that Jazz Davicius has a clear-cut grappling advantage. So that's why I'm going with Jazz Davicius. I see her being able to take down Silva at will, be able to mix in those level changes along with her striking, and maintain control of her. Give me Jazz Davicius. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here. As we can see, we have Jazz Davicius looking good. She's smiling. She looks healthy. She's throwing up the one, as you can't really see because it's cut off, but she's throwing up the one. She looks healthy. I'm very confident in her. I think that her grappling abilities are legit, and I think that she's going to be able to mix in her striking and find success. And let's go ahead and look at Da Silva. She looks good too. She looks jacked, to be completely honest. She looks healthy. She looks tall. She looks phenomenal on the scales, but we're going to see how it goes down. Let's look at the odds, in which we have Jazz Davicius sitting at a negative 210. Lipski Da Silva actually sitting at a plus 180. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes down. I think that I really like Jasudavicius. She's in my confident picks. I still think that she's more confident. Still in my confident picks, even though they changed the opponent. I like Jasudavicius. I think her wrestling is legit. I think that she brings a heavy submission threat. I think Jasudavicius is going to win this. I think that it goes to the decision. I like the overs in this fight. I had that as well in my confident picks. I over 2.5 sitting at a negative 260, over 1.5 sitting at a negative 450, as you guys can see all the way to the right here. I like the overs in this fight. I think Jasudavicius is going to find success in the striking. I think there's going to be a lot of striking moments, but I think there's going to be a lot more grappling moments where Jasudavicius is taking her down to the ground and using that heavy pressure style of hers to find the level changes and find the takedowns. Give me Jasudavicius to beat Ariana Da Silva. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout in Ayman Zahabi versus Pedro Munhoz. And I am going with Ayman Zahabi. I think that Pedro Munhoz is kind of coming to the end of his career. He's 38. He hasn't been looking the best as of lately. I think that he still is a threat on the feet, but I think Zahabi is just going to be better. He's going to maintain distance. He's going to strike from the outside. He's going to be the quicker, cleaner striker, the more technical striker. He's going to use that quick jab of his to keep Pedro Munhoz at bay. He's also got the knockout power. He likes to strike from the outside, so this is kind of his ball game. He's got a slight height advantage as well as a huge reach advantage over him. A good reach advantage, not huge, but a decent reach advantage. I like Zahabi. I think that he's going to have success on the outside against Pedro Munhoz. I think Pedro Munhoz is going to have trouble entering and exiting the pocket without getting tagged from Zahabi. I think Zahabi is going to have the speed advantage. I think that in terms of grappling, it's going to be close, but I think Zahabi is going to find more success in the grappling as well. I think Pedro Munhoz is going to be the better scrambler. Zahabi might have a hard time maintaining him down, but I think that eventually, with his overwhelming pressure, he's going to be able to find the level change and take down Pedro Munhoz and maintain control of him. Give me Ayman Zahabi to beat Pedro Munhoz. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-ins, in which we have Pedro Munhoz right here. He looks jacked. He looks healthy. He looks very healthy for a 38-year-old. He does not look 38. And let's go ahead and look at Ayman Zahabi. He looks good. He looks healthy. He looks a little bit lean. He doesn't look quite as bulked up as Pedro Munhoz, I will say. Like, as thick, I want to say. But let's go ahead and look at the odds between these two. Ayman Zahabi sitting at a negative 145 and Pedro Munhoz sitting at a plus 125. I like Ayman Zahabi over Pedro Munhoz. And then let's look at the rounds with over 1.5 sitting at a negative 800, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 475. I think Zahabi is going to pick apart, overwhelm, outstrike Pedro Munhoz, and get the better of him on the scorecards. Give me Ayman Zahabi to beat Pedro Munhoz. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout, in which we have Mike Malott versus Trevin Giles as the main card opener. And I am going with Mike proper Malott over Trevin Giles. I think that he's going to use his grappling straight away. I'm going to be completely honest. Let's just start with this. He's going to use that grappling of his to take down Trevin Giles right away, diminish the power of Trevin Giles because he knows that that is a risky business. To start with Trevin Giles on the feet is very, very risky because of the knockout power that he contains. And he's very, very good at entering and exiting the pocket. So I feel like Mike Malott is going to want to take down Trevin Giles, make him uncomfortable, diminish his energy, diminish his power, kind of drain him. And then just in the second and third rounds, I think we're going to see a lot better of a Mike Malott, a lot better of a speed advantage as well. I think he's going to use the grappling ability for sure, take down Trevin Giles. And I think that Trevin Giles lacks in the grappling abilities. I think he's a very good striker with knockout power that sometimes throws looping shots. but they are heavy. But I think he also is just lacking in the grappling department. Not to mention he is chinny. He's got knocked out multiple times. So I think Mike Malott is going to use the grappling ability of his. Not only that, he's got good striking, so he's going to strike on the feet with him. But I think there's going to be very little striking exchanges and more grappling exchanges. Give me Mike Malott to beat Trevin Giles. And let's go ahead and look at the weigh-in photos in which Trevin Giles, as you guys can see, looks healthy. He looks jacked. He's got that sick tattoo on his shoulder. And let's go ahead and look at Mike Malott, which you guys can see here. Same thing. Looks jacked. Looks healthy. I think that Mike Malott is going to get this done. I think that he's going to use that clear-cut grappling advantage of his to pressure, overwhelm, and outwork a Trevin Giles. And we have Mike Malott sitting at a negative 330 and Trevin Giles sitting at a plus 270. So Mike Malott, if you want to use him, money line is a little bit tough as of right now, seeing his negative 330 tag. So I like him as a parlay addition. I really do think that he's going to get it done against Trevin Giles. Like I said, Trevin Giles lacks in the grappling department, and sometimes in the striking department he can get a little bit wild and chaotic. So give me Mike Malott, who's a lot more technical in the striking and has a clear-cut grappling advantage. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 140. Over 2.5 sitting at a plus 145. So very, 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 very close odds on the rounds. I think that this goes over 1.5. I think Mike Malott takes down Trevin Giles, and I think that's where this goes. I think that it's more grappling than on the feet exchanges, but who knows? We could see a straight striking battle in which it's going to be very, very scary, but I got Mike Malott to beat Trevin Giles. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout on the main card, in which we have Marc-Andre Barriault versus Dustin Stoltzfus. And I was going back and forth with these two because Dustin Stoltzfus is an underrated kickboxer, but I'm going with Marc-Andre Barriault. I think that even though he hasn't looked the best as of lately, he has been up against some very well-known fighters in Chris Curtis and then Joe Pyfer, who he got knocked out by. So I think that he has the ability to beat Stoltzfus. I think that his pressure-heavy style is what's going to win him this. I think that he's got clean, quick combinations with precise inside boxing. I think that he needs to make this a little bit more of a chaotic fight for him to win this. I think that he needs to be able to enter and exit the pocket with ease, and I believe he's going to be able to against Dustin Stoltzfus. I think that he's going to be able to use those the grappling ability of his to take down Stoltzfus, maintain him, be able to advance positions, and land some ground and pound. I have Marc-Andre Barriault to beat Dustin Stoltzfus. I think on the feet it's going to be very, very close between these two, but I think in the grappling department, I got Barriault. I think that Stoltzfus has decent takedown defense, but he hasn't been the best in the UFC in terms of the caliber of fighters. So I think that Barriault is going to be able to get the better of Dustin Stoltzfus and win this. And let's look at the not the odds, the photos, the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Dustin Stoltzfus here first. He looks good. He looks healthy. He looks jacked. Nothing to complain about on the scales. He made weight, so he's ready for war against Marc-Andre Barriault, but I just don't think he has what it takes to beat Marc-Andre Barriault. He's 2-5 in the UFC. He doesn't really have the skills at this caliber. I think Marc-Andre Barriault is going to get the better of him, in which you guys can see here. Let's look at him on the scales. He looks jacked. He looks healthy. His tattoos look very, very sick on his arm. He's got a full sleeve. I think that this is going to be an absolute war between these two, in which I got Barriault to win. Let's look at the odds here, in which we have Marc-Andre Barriault sitting at a negative 185, Dustin Stoltzfus sitting at a plus 160. I think Marc-Andre Barriault is going to get it done against Dustin Stoltzfus. I think that we could see this even end early. I think Barriault could be live to get a submission on Dustin Stoltzfus. And let's look at the odds on this. Barriault by knockout, not submission. My apologies. I think Barriault can find the knockout on Stoltzfus, in which knockout is sitting at a plus 205. Not submission, my apologies. I meant knockout. I think Barriault could definitely find some shots on Dustin Stoltzfus. Like I said, I think he's the more technical fighter on the feet. I do think that he also has the clear-cut grappling advantage. But I think that it's going to be Marc-Andre Barriault getting the better of Dustin Stoltzfus on the feet and in the grappling department. Give me Marc-Andre Barriault. And let's go ahead and move along to the next bout, in which we have Caio Machado versus Brendson Ribeiro. And this is another interesting one where Caio Machado is actually coming down in weight, and he dropped a tremendous amount of weight. He made 205, and he looked good. He looked very, very good, and I'm sticking with Caio Machado to beat Brendson Ribeiro. I get Ribeiro is the more explosive fighter, but I think as this fight goes on, it's going to favor Machado. I think he's a good striker with a quick, stiff jab. I think that he's a lot quicker than people are giving him credit for. I think that he's also a good grappler. I think he's going to have the grappling advantage. I think that Ribeiro definitely lacks in the grappling department. I think he's a very good striker, though. I think Ribeiro is going to have the striking advantage. I think Machado is going to have the grappling advantage. So it's going to be fairly interesting to see how it goes down. I think Machado is going to be able to fare well on the feet against Ribeiro, because I don't think Ribeiro is a very technical fighter. I think he's just explosive and has the power. But I think Machado is a little bit more technical and will be able to piece and pick apart Brendson Ribeiro, find those shots, mix in those level changes, and find success in the grappling as well as the striking. Let's look at the weigh-in photos here, in which we have Ribeiro on the scales first. He looks good. He made weight. He looks healthy. And he's ready for war against Caio Machado, which, let's look at Caio Machado. He's coming down from heavyweight, and he looks phenomenal. He looks jacked. He looks ripped. I like Caio Machado here. I think he's going to beat Brendson Ribeiro. I think he's a little bit more technical and definitely has the grappling skills to back it up. And let's look at the odds here, in which Caio Machado is sitting at a negative 146, Ribeiro sitting at a plus 126. I like Caio Machado. The over is sitting at a negative 155, over 2.5 sitting at a plus 125. I like the unders in this fight. I like the under 2.5 at negative 165. I think Caio Machado finds a way to get it done against Brendson Ribeiro. I think he could submit him, but I also think that he could knock him out. Give me Caio Machado inside the distance to beat Brendson Ribeiro. And let's look at inside the distance here at plus 145. I really like those odds. Or you can just go straight money line route at negative 146, put him in a parlay, put him in money line, and you're getting great odds on Caio Machado. And let's look at the next fight in Derrick Lewis versus Jhonata Diniz. And I'm going with Jhonata Diniz. I think that he's going to get it done here. I get that Derrick Lewis is a scary guy to bet against because he always finds a way to get a knockout, and he's a very good underdog. But I think that Jhonata Diniz is just too much for him here. I think he's too patient and too calculated of a fighter for Derrick Lewis. I think that he's going to find his striking early. He's going to mix up his shots very well, mix up those snappy low kicks of his, find the calf of Derrick Lewis. And also, I think he's going to be stronger in the grappling department, stronger clinch pressure, better takedown defense. So we're going to see how it goes. I have Jhonata Diniz to beat Derrick Lewis. I think that he picks him apart on the feet, overwhelms him, finds that knockout shot on Derrick Lewis. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here, in which Jhonata Diniz, looking a little pudgy. I mean, it's heavyweight, so give him a pass. But, you know, he looks good. He really does. He looks happy. He looks healthy. We're going to see him go up against a beast in Derrick Lewis. And let's look at Derrick Lewis on the scales. They both made weight. Derrick Lewis, same thing. Looks good on the scales. Healthy. We're going to see how it goes down between these two. And let's look at the odds between these two, in which Derrick Lewis is sitting at a plus 132. Jhonata Diniz sitting at a negative 152. I like Jhonata Diniz. I think that he beats Derrick Lewis. I think that he's going to overwhelm him. I think he's going to pick him apart. He's going to outstrike him and mix in those level changes and find some takedowns. I think Jhonata Diniz finds a knockout, to be completely honest. I think his striking is too much for Derrick Lewis. I think he's too much of a patient and calculated striker for Derrick Lewis. I like the under 1.5, sitting at a negative 135. Give me Jhonata or Diniz to knock out Derrick Lewis, and let's look at the odds on that. Diniz by knockout sitting at a negative 130. Lewis by knockout sitting at a negative one or plus 175. So both knockouts sitting fairly good odds. I like Diniz by knockout though. I think he's, like I said, too much of a patient and calculated fighter for Derrick Lewis. And let's move along to our co-main event in Rose Namajunas versus Erin Blanchfield. And like I said, I was surprised at the beginning that Rose Namajunas is a underdog, and I'm still surprised that she's an underdog. I'm going with Thug Rose to beat Erin Blanchfield. Nothing has changed. I think that she's a more technical fighter. I think she's going to pick apart Erin Blanchfield. I think that she's got the quicker, cleaner combination. I think that she's the quicker, more explosive fighter as well. Not only that, dude, Erin Blanchfield kind of lacks in the striking department. I think that she's going to get absolutely exposed by Rose in the sense of the striking. I think that Rose is going to pick her apart in the striking. I think in the grappling, she's a solid grappler. But I think that Rose Namajunas is just as solid of a grappler as Erin Blanchfield, but an even better striker than Erin Blanchfield. I think that Thug Rose is going to get the better of Erin Blanchfield in every way, on the feet and in the grappling departments. I could see Erin Blanchfield having a couple moments of her own, obviously, but I think overall it's going to be Rose Namajunas getting the better of Erin Blanchfield in a good back and forth brawl between these two. And let's look at the weigh-in photos between these two, in which we have Erin Blanchfield first. She looks happy. She looks healthy. She looks good on the scale. She made weight. And let's go ahead and drop to Rose Namajunas, who also looked good on the scales. She made weight. She looks happy. She looks healthy. She looks jacked. She looks good. I think that we're going to see Rose Namajunas beat the crap out of Erin Blanchfield. I think Erin Blanchfield lacks in the striking department. She's a good grappler, but lacks the threat of striking to really present a grappling threat. And let's look at the odds here, in which we have Rose Namajunas sitting at a plus 115, Erin Blanchfield sitting at a negative 135. I like Rose Namajunas. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 800, over 2.5 sitting at a negative 450, over 3.5 sitting at a negative 325. I like the over 3.5 in this fight. I think that you're getting good value, as well as over 2.5. You could add them into parlays. Great value. I think this definitely goes to the cards. I think Rose Namajunas wins it by decision. That is my pick here. I think that she's going to be the better striker on the feet for sure, the slicker striker. I think in terms of grappling, she's going to be able to snub Erin Blanchfield, who telegraphs her takedowns and doesn't really give enough of a striking threat to be able to get to those takedowns. So give me Rose Namajunas to beat Erin Blanchfield, the underdog of the week. And let's go ahead and move along to the main event of this week. And if you guys haven't, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's jump right into it in Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. And I am going with Brandon Moreno. Like I said before, I'm still not a believer in Amir Albazi. I think that Brandon Moreno has been up against the best caliber fighters for a while. I think he's still a high caliber fighter. Yes, he hasn't been looking the greatest as of lately, but like he said in the press conference, it's a 3.0 Brandon Moreno. I think we're going to see a different Brandon Moreno come out. I think he's going to be a slick, technical striker. I think that we're going to see a new Brandon Moreno where he's going to be a great dominant fighter. He has the striking advantage, I believe, as well as a reach advantage over Amir Albazi. I think Amir Albazi has good, heavy wrestling pressure, but I think that Brandon Moreno brings more of a submission threat over Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi has a grappling and strength advantage, but we're going to see how it fares. I think Brandon Moreno is no slouch in the grappling department. He's going to be able to fare well against Amir Albazi in the grappling department, and in the striking department, I think Brandon Moreno is a little bit more dangerous. Give me Brandon Moreno to beat Amir Albazi. And let's look at the weigh-in photos here, in which Amir Albazi looks jacked, absolutely jacked, healthy, coming back off of a crazy surgery and looking absolutely phenomenal, and about to headline the UFC event, UFC Edmonton. And let's look at Brandon Moreno. Same thing. Looks happy, looks healthy, looks jacked. He's coming back from a break as well. Not as crazy of a break as Amir Albazi, but definitely a well-needed break for Brandon Moreno as well. So let's go ahead and look at the odds here, in which Amir Albazi sitting at a plus 148. Brandon Moreno sitting at a negative 173. I like Brandon Moreno. Amir Albazi still needs to prove to me that he's the best. He had that controversial win over Kai France where I thought he lost. But either way, the cards are what they were. And I got Brandon Moreno to beat Amir Albazi. Let's see if Amir Albazi can prove me wrong and beat Brandon Moreno. Over 1.5 sitting at a negative 650. Over 2.5 sitting at a negative 385. Over 3.5 sitting at a negative 260. I like the over 3.5. I think this definitely goes to the cards. I think Amir Albazi is kind of like a mini Bilal. He's more of a point fighter, a pressure wrestler that likes to maintain control of you, pepper you with shots, and kind of keep you down and hold you into the cards. I think Brandon Moreno is a little bit too skillful to have that done to him. I think that Brandon Moreno is going to be able to outstrike Amir Albazi. I think he's going to fare well in the grappling department. Let's not forget he's great at submissions. I think he brings more of a submission threat than Amir Albazi, who's more of a pressure wrestler. So give me Brandon Moreno to beat Amir Albazi. And if you guys haven't, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!